Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Podriplegics podcast. Very special guests with us today. The great, the powerful, the inspirational JoAnna Paterson and Marc Strohmaier. But like always, you know I got to get through these housekeeping items, so let's get it going. Sponsors, thank you to the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association. You can contact them at azspinal.org, or you can call Eric, the guy above, to my left, or to my right. I don't know, the one with the white beard. 602-507-4209. Call him at any time. He loves it. He likes the 3 a.m. weird calls. Those are his thing.
I might actually answer.
This podcast can be found on YouTube, azspinal.org/podcast. On Facebook, Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Friends Group. On Spotify, on iTunes. Don, Eric, Laronda, and myself have 100+ years of living with disability, but we are not medical professionals. So if you are having medical issues, please contact your doctor or call 911. We are only here to discuss our experiences throughout our life and maybe help you in some way or any way possible.
If anything, maybe laugh a little.
Yeah, just give you somebody to laugh at, Eric. There will be mature language and content, mostly from Eric and Don. I apologize for that to everybody. They have foul mouth. And don't sue me. Everybody else is wide open.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
He's the one with all the money.
Yes. Be inclusive. I love that.
JoAnna and Marc. JoAnna. I always say JoAnna. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey, we're in Arizona.
Yeah. So JoAnna and Marc, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Our pleasure.
Nice.
You two. Well, Marc, you are a quadriplegic, correct? C4.
Yep. C4.
Do you want to go into a little bit about your disability, how you got your disability, so that way everybody's on the same page?
Sure. I was injured in a serious car accident back in 1988. So I just celebrated my 32-year anniversary last month, and so that was in California. Finished up high school. That was my junior year when I got injured. Finished up high school. Moved to the Bay Area for a couple of years, try to figure out my life. And that's when I decided, well, my brother ended up going to ASU. I came out and visited one time, and I fell in love with it, with Arizona. And I decided that that's where I was going to go to school. Came back home, finished up my prereqs, transferred to ASU in 95, and graduated in 97. So, since then, I did some working in the marketing department for a home builder, and that was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it, awesome people. And then 9/11 happened, and I kind of it made me recalibrate a little bit. And I thought about some of the people that were in those buildings that collapsed, and the work I was doing wasn't something I'd be willing to give my life for if that happened. And that was kind of my reset, and decided to go back to school and got my degree in secondary education and became a high school football coach and teacher at Hamilton High School out in Chandler. And that was awesome. Great time. Won a lot of football games. Met some great people, great relationships. Kids now, they're having kids, so that's fun to see on Facebook or whatever, seeing them grow up and become young adults. And did that for 7 years, and then my health started deteriorating. I think I was pushing myself a bit too hard, and that made me kind of again reset, recalibrate my gears. And living out in Chandler, there's not a lot of public transportation, and I don't drive myself, so I felt sort of like I was on an island. And about 4 years ago, moved to Midtown Phoenix, So I'm on the light rail and tons of freedom, live in a high-rise building. Dawn came and saw it the other day. It's pretty great. Look out the window. I'm on the 12th floor. I can watch the sunset every night. It's amazing. So that really opened up a lot of independence for me. And also I live like a mile away from St. Joe's Hospital, which is convenient for me because I can't seem to go about a year or two without being sent to a hospital for some reason. I've got a lot of secondary issues, especially with skin problems, skin breakdowns, and then other, sort of like infections, the bladder infections and all that stuff that we all go through at times. So I live in a good spot, and I'm here with JoAnna now and my dog, and it's going really smooth. Things are going pretty good right now.
So a lot to unpack here. I want to start kind of at the beginning and ask you, when you got in your accident, you went back to school, what were some of the feelings you had as a newly disabled person, as far as with maybe the relationships you had with people at your school? I mean, was it positive? Was there negatives? I mean, do you have any thoughts on any of those?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I got injured in October. So I ended up, and back then the rehab that they gave me was like 6 months long. I know now it's like they kick you out after 2 months now.
May I interject 1 second? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I feel like it's important for like the origin story sometimes to be starting at the injury. That's important some of the time, but I think it's really important to touch on that Marc was a all-state athlete before the injury also. So dedication to sports, mainly football. Already, how tall were you?
I was like 6'2".
Big and strong. And the discipline and everything that goes with being an athlete, working out every day, watching your diet, things like that, can affect the injury in and of itself. But going back after an experience like that and being grown up in deep sports and activities like that, I always like to touch on.
Sure. I mean, it makes a difference too. It changes. It being. I look. I was heavily athletic as well before my injury and all those kind of things. So like it does. It changes the way you can perceive things. It changes the way you can perceive life, and the way that you got a disability now that you can't be an athlete anymore, right? So like, how do you define yourself, or what are some of the things that you think of yourself, the way you carry yourself? So.
No, absolutely. And that is a factor, especially going back to school. So I ended up going, through, when I was in the hospital, they did some, I don't know, I had a tutor. And then I got released in like March and did homeschool to get caught up. So then I was able to graduate in my class, my senior class. And when I went back, I was totally intimidated at first. And my school, the whole community really, really embraced me. I was really lucky. And in a way, it was, I think at one time I perceived it as maybe being overly inviting back. And like, for example, the school nominated me to be the homecoming king. I'm not trying to brag about that, but I was the homecoming king, not queen.
I was just going to say, did you say?
But at first I actually went to the principal and I was like, look, I don't want this pity prize, and then they gathered a bunch of people and they reiterated that wasn't the case, and then I kind of let loose a little bit and started enjoying it. My school basically bent over backwards. I was in a really lucky situation. The community was tight. It was in Central California, and it was great. Now, going back to the athlete thing, it was soul crushing to watch my team gather for rallies or even go into the games and watching them and being like, I should be the one out there. And as you mentioned, Shawn, I think when you are an athlete and you are injured, not even when you're an athlete, when you're just an able-bodied person, but in particular if you're athletic and physical, what was thrown in my face initially was all the things I could not do anymore. And prior to my injury, literally, I thought people in wheelchairs just could not walk. And it was like, oh, damn, you know, they can't ride their bike, they can't run, can't swim. You know, it didn't even occur to me the other complications such as using the restroom or worrying about pressure sores or all the other 100 things we got to worry about. So, you know, I was never in a coma, but I was really drugged up for a while. And it took me a long time to realize what was going on. And even when the doctors told me, hey, you broke your neck, there was a dude on our football team that broke his neck his freshman year. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a nasty scar, probably not be able to play football anymore, but I'm going to be like my buddy, Donnie, and things are going to be okay. And slowly over time, being on a ventilator, at first I was on a ventilator with a trach and all that stuff, you slowly start realizing, hey, this isn't a dream. I'm not waking up from this. And it was actually a catheterization process that I watched, that when she's stuck the catheter in my penis and I felt nothing, when I thought I was going to be in a lot of pain, that was the moment, like, bam, oh my God, this is the real life right now. So, you know, I think there's like 5 stages of grief we go through, or 7 or something like that. Anger, denial, bargaining, all those things. And I think I was kind of encapsulated while I was in high school, because I was so protected by my friends and the community, to where that I was able to get by no problem. I think I was able to put a smile on my face. I certainly didn't accept it mentally, but at least I had the ability to go to class, make friends, you know, I had a good high school year, senior year. I enjoyed it. And then it was after that I ended up moving with my dad and my stepmom up to the Bay Area, which is about 3 hours away from where I was. And I had 0 friends, like none. And I was terrified to leave the house. Couldn't look at anybody in the eye. All I saw was this crippled dude, and I had 0 confidence. It allowed me to become a good student. I ended up going to community college up there, and that's all I did was study. And I came home and read and studied, and I was terrified. I had like 0 confidence. And then coming out to Arizona, going to Arizona State, and being immersed into another great community here with people I knew at the dorms, and my brother played on the football team. I was well accepted here, and it really boosted that's when I started to finally accept what was going on, and realizing that, you know, hey, this life in a chair thing, it's not all about what you can't do. You know, because at a certain time, even with football, you're gonna end up being a spectator, whether you're 50 years old or, you know, Tom Brady's still going, at 42. So, you know, eventually, you know, you become a spectator, and I just had to do it a little earlier. So it took me honestly about 7 years to fully wrap my head around what happened to me, and how to get over it, to really accept it. And I think that was probably longer than most take, but I'm a slow learner. And
I don't think there's a timeline on something like that, you know. And I think acceptance of a catastrophic change in your life is a very personal thing. So, you know, for some it may take 6 months, for some it may take 7 years, for some many never even really get there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, I think that you know, you mentioned something in there that you know, you had a positive outlook even through negative times, and sometimes really that can be what can be the catalyst for change in your life. You know what I mean? To be able to say, I was terrified to go anywhere, but it made me a good student, right? Like, so you already have that mindset of being able to bring a positive out of all the negatives, and so that helps you snowball into understanding and change, and then at some point happiness, right? So
yeah. And then there was some fake it till you make it going on, and then you start building confidence, and then, you know, going to a place like ASU, and you meet some girls that you probably didn't think that I could even have a conversation with, and then you start dating some cute girls, and then it builds confidence, and then meet some other people, and it just then you just accept. I don't know. I just started accepting it, and you know, I can still feel eyes on me even today. You know, when we go out, but
everywhere you go,
I'm able to brush it off. It's kind of like it doesn't even affect me.
Yeah, well, that's very true. I mean, having eyes, man. That just kind of comes with the territory. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how did you feel when you started teaching football? Like, you know, like that's cool to be able to actually go and be a football coach. So how did that impact, or how did you feel about having that opportunity?
I mean, that was the biggest confidence builder ever. Not only just coaching at a high school, but coaching at the high school at the time. I mean, we sent kids to the NFL, and we won a lot of games, which makes going out to practice when it's 112 a little easier to take. And I often thought about the luck that I had, some of the connections I had that got me in the door, and then once I got in the door, I made sure I'm gonna make the best, take full opportunity that I could. I became a health teacher, which was super fun, not a lot of pressure, and met some amazing kids. Again, we won a lot of football games, got to play at the Cardinal Stadium. All that was awesome. And I was very lucky to be in the situation where I was. Again, if I'd been maybe coaching at a lesser school, I maybe not have enjoyed it so much, because it is a lot of hard work, and it's so hot here, you know, and enduring that and
try telling this coach, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
That's going to be the next thing.
That's got to go over like a brick.
You know, I think that helped the kids, you know, whether it wasn't my X's and O's, I think sometimes the kids probably took inspiration from, you know, just seeing me out there, and I'd give them a lot of hell, and it was fun, and it was great. Won a lot of games.
You know, it's interesting. You know, you're talking about football, and you're talking about some of the biggest, strongest, most athletic beasts on the planet, right? And you know, I'm into MMA, and I hang out with some of the most violent, mad, crazy human beings on the planet too. And to have that acceptance there, and then also for people to look at you for guidance and inspiration, people in those positions, right? I mean, those are positions that we've been in, right? You've been an athlete, I've been an athlete, some of us have all been athletes, but you know, to have that is a big thing. It's a big confidence thing. It's a feeling that, oh, you know what, like my chair is not what defines me, it's me who defines me, you know?
Absolutely. And another very unique situation. I don't know what I believe in. My beliefs are all over the place, but I do sometimes believe things happen for a reason. And in my case, especially at Hamilton, my first year there, I was a new coach. I'm the new guy. Everybody knows everybody else. And I was kind of a fish out of water. And my first year there, within my first 6 months, a kid broke his neck on the field and is paralyzed. And I don't want to say his name. I think a couple of you probably know who he is. But to see that, all of a sudden I went from being the new guy who kind of was just kind of in the background. All of a sudden, everybody turned to me. Hey, what is this young man going through? How should we treat him? And that was totally eye-opening to me, because when I got injured, the injury happened to me. I wasn't able to see outside my little box, selfishly, I think, when I was 16. But you know, I didn't see how it affected the community as much as I did when this other young man got hurt, and I saw the school come together. I saw Chandler come together, and the way it impacted everybody. And it was like, wow, really, it was like an eye-opening experience to me. And, you know, that was heavy, very heavy. However, the young man's doing very successfully now. He is in a wheelchair, unfortunately, for the rest of his life, probably. But he's kicking ass, and he's doing some great things, and I'm very proud of him. And but to be thrown in that situation, it was immediately like, oh my gosh, now I'm the expert. And that was, I mean, when that first happened, I was watching him breathe on the ground. I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, he's paralyzed. Either that or I was praying it was a really, really bad stinger. But I could tell by the way he was moving and struggling to breathe. I mean, I knew it. And it hurt. It hurt to watch him do that, to watch him go through that. But he actually inspires me because to me, I feel like this young man accepted it almost immediately. And whereas it took me 7 years, but this young man bounced right back and is doing amazing things now. So
watching the community rally around him.
Yeah, it was very inspiring actually. So
I mean, just to have you to be there, for you to be there and him to see your life and all the things that you went through, you're teaching football, I'm pretty sure that gave him some type of sense of, I would say relief, that he'll still be able to actually have a life.
Wherever your beliefs are, that's God,
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I inspired him, at least face to face. I never had to sit down with him and go like, hey, X, Y, Z, this is what's going to happen. But I was open to speaking to him and his family if they needed it. And probably in the back of his mind, he was like, hey, I did see this other guy that was in the community. He was our coach and he was enjoying life and doing some of those things. So yeah, I secondhand, I think I probably helped him out, hopefully.
Well, and that's called normalizing it, I mean, that's what I think was going on. I mean, that's what strikes me because, and some people do adjust very quickly. But I think you also help to normalize the situation to where he's like, oh, exactly like you said, life goes on, life can go on, I can be successful and do what I want to do. A lot of people, when they first get injured, they're like, oh, my dreams are gone. I can't ever do what I wanted to do. And
that's how I was. That's how I felt.
Yeah. And here you are, you're making it work. You figured out a way to make it work for yourself to create meaning and purpose in your life. So, I mean, kudos to you, man.
Well, I think I also, in that particular situation, I also helped the other coaches and administration, everybody that was just like, oh my God, now we have 2 wheelchairs on campus. Well, we had more than that, but that was just very, to have it happen right in front of us like that really brought the kids together, in fact. And yeah, the school, I think, and some of the coaches maybe, took a little relief off their shoulders too, knowing that this young man could still live a positive life.
Don, you were going to say something?
Yeah, well, I mean, I met Marc, I think, many years ago, probably at an ASU football game. I just saw this guy. And by that time, I remember you were very, you were confident, you were very outgoing. You had a lot of friends around you, a lot of girls around you all the time. And so I think you were past that stage of anger and denial. You were having fun for sure. I didn't know a lot about your backstory, so hearing all these different chapters of your life is really interesting. I think what really impresses me, Marc, is your ability to change, to morph. It sounds like, you've gone through some significant changes in your life, all these different chapters. I mean, now you're starting out in a whole nother chapter, moving to that high rise, meeting JoAnna, and working on some other projects. Can you tell us what you're working on now and maybe introduce us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, JoAnna and I go back quite a bit. She was actually, when I was living out in Chandler, was one of my caregivers at the time. She helped me get moved in over here. And then being just a distance thing, she couldn't work for me anymore. But we kept close touch. And I again, last year, just went through one little issue led to another issue, and the dominoes started falling. Next thing you know, I've got a basically a life-threatening wound on my back that I was terrified. I froze. Fight or flight or freeze, I froze. And I didn't know how I was going to handle it. JoAnna, being very intuitive, very well connected, and knowing my personality, picked up on something and just showed up one day and took care of things and got me to a hospital, and I got a surgery taken care of. And from that point, we've kind of been back connected like magnets, which was pretty cool. And then I've relied on JoAnna is also an amazing healer, and we've gone through some. I allow her to be. I'm her little guinea pig for some of her trials of some plant medicine that we're doing and things like that. So I was able to. The latest thing I'm really proud of is the fact that we healed a wound that was the size of a softball, of a fist. A surgeon, they debrided the wound. Thankfully, it wasn't to the bone or any serious infection or any infection. It was a giant wound. And the surgeons, being surgeons that they are, I actually asked them once in a meeting, point blank, can this wound be healed non-surgically? And they said no. And that's when I decided to say, hey, I'm gonna go get a second opinion. I didn't want to go through. I've been bit a few times by the pressure sore monster, and I've spent 8 weeks in a bed, and that is it drives you crazy, literally. And the last time I told myself I'm never going through this again. So when I asked this surgeon this, and he said no, I knew he wasn't even willing to try to let me heal it. So JoAnna and I came to the decision we're going to try to heal it, and we're 99.9% healed. It's a little dot right now. It looks
like a really cute innie belly button.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's tiny. Well, we were able to do it, and I would like to someday go to that surgeon and just.
But that's training. That's athlete. That's the reason why that all was possible was because of continuous self-care throughout the last 32 years. You can't do that without having a good protein diet. Your daily life has to be healthy as well in order to. I mean, in my opinion, a lot of chronic things and a lot of just systemic issues that people in chairs specifically go through is related to preventative care and consistent moisturizing of the skin, protein intake, and things like that. So when something like this does occur, your body is your mind and your body, especially if you know what you're going through and you know you've healed them before, or you know deeply, you're the only ones that know your specific healing process. If your eating habits and things like that all counts in every single day. Then be healthy enough to take a hit, and when you can do that, you up your chances of staying healthy while you heal something. He was never sick. In this case, the healing and the times, and it's slow, and but keeping on it and keeping in the game. I call it skin in the game. You have to have skin in the game if you're going to heal something that, especially when many doctors, it's not really that they said no, but they're not willing to have the conversation. They see something like 30 years in the chair, you're a little checked out. Their experience probably says a lot different when you're in the 15-minute appointment with somebody and you have some extra questions. He knew he could do it. We lucked out with a home nurse, veteran woman who, advanced wound care that has been absolutely a driving force every week. And it wasn't just using holistic tools and potions and things. It's a holistic approach. And I'm so proud of the healing that has happened over the last year. Like figuring out certain vitamins.
Don't get him started on potions, please.
But you know what? I look at me. I truly agree with you because look at me. Like you said, we're not medical, we're not doctors. So whoever listens to this, please don't do what I do. But this is just like works for me. I've been in a wheelchair ever since I'm 44. Now my injury happened when I was 11. I never used a cushion. I never had a pressure sore. And when I go to the doctors and everything, and they ask me, I always take Epsom salt baths, and I use shea butter on my butt.
Right.
So it's like, and I constantly tell them, it's like for years from starting as a child,
right.
Coming up to like that pre of what you call it? I can even say it. Taking care of it from the beginning, like just
your practice, no matter what. Thank God it serves you so well. But a lot of with the COVID and everything, it's like, zinc doesn't cure it, and potassium and vitamins. It's like you should have been washing your hands, and you should have been taking some vitamins probably before. You need a certain systemic level of health and daily practices to be healthy, so you can take a hit. So I think a lot of the time. Just those rituals, those habits, it really protects you. I started out, I met Marc. I was fresh out of CNA school, like fresh. I was a competing gymnast growing up. I toured with Cirque du Soleil for a bunch of years, and where I ended up, I always knew I was sort of going to end up in PT or healthcare or something of the something.
So that's the transition, Cirque du Soleil to healthcare. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
He's 6'4".
Yeah. No, I get it.
So you gotta have a certain,
right.
But the lifts and the rigging and things.
Yeah.
So Marc was actually, and I started out with Ability 360.
Yeah.
Look at me. Okay, look at me. Ability 360.
Why don't I have a fleece?
I'm sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to
work with them. So I somewhere in school, I said, and I couldn't do the long-term care facility. I did some time in a rehab long-term care setting, and it wasn't for me. I'm for home care. I'm for you get to know where your strengths are and things. And one was the thing was nobody was really getting what they needed, much less sort of wanted, even on the circulation, just massaging and turning and things like that. That's what a CNA is technically trained to manage. And there was no time. So watching something so small turn into something so large in such a short amount of time, I couldn't hack it. I can do rehab, PT rehab, and that's a big source of like strength and athleticism that takes to build and all those things with somebody. But I just sort of took a personal with that approach in preventative and tried to, and that's how he became my guinea pig. And so the first client, right? And we actually hit it off. And I wanted some experience. Now, Ability 360 is not a medical, it's a non-medical agency. So I said, I don't care about my certification. I want to work for Marc. And sort of used post-education and all of the things that they do teach us in the textbooks, as far as turning and skin integrity and managing bladder infections and things like that. When they're applied on a daily basis, whoever's responsibility it is in facilities and things, there's something about being in the home every day, keeping with it, eating protein.
And that's actually, I want to.
Well, it makes it quality.
I'm not trying to knock surgeons either. That surgery, it may have been successful. There's no guarantees, but that would have been an 8-week, and boom, I'm on paper, I would have been done. Now, technically, I'm still seeing a wound care doctor, and it's not totally gone, but I'm allowed to live my life. I'm in my own house with my dog. I'm eating my own food. And that, again, it's taken over a year instead of 8 weeks, but the mental part of that, I don't think I could have endured it again.
Yeah, the quality of life.
You know, mental health is just as important to exercise as physical health. You know?
You're in a bed for 6
when you're in a healing process.
surgery, you got to train for 6 or 8 weeks to get back in the lift in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things, you know, with circulation and you know, counting in that next part of the year and counting in the next part of the year in training to get back to your quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a personal.
So
Yeah, I was like,
we often get caught talking about CBDs and THC and all those type of things out here. And I don't think any of us are knowledgeable enough, except for when you talk about THC.
So, man, just for you
I've done
guys.
quite a bit of that.
expert.
But for as far as CBD stuff goes, what are some of the things that you've seen, I guess, that have helped Eric or yourself?
Right. So
Mark, sorry.
I was going to say, I haven't been taking any CBD anything, but I appreciate you including me in
might
the
help
conversation.
Eric, but has helped Mark.
Who has engaged in the CBD revolution? Does anyone, do any of you take it on a daily basis for?
I do, yeah.
Good, like a tincture or?
I usually do the gummies.
Yeah. So I got really, really lucky being a semi-medical person, and after my certification expired, I gave up my credentials in order to explore the specifically the cannabinoid, the endocannabinoid system. I couldn't really do panels or speak about what the results were. I was very much bound by a CNA certification in order to not pretend to be a CBD nurse. There's a lot of, you know, titles that come with things that don't make sense. Yeah, but I couldn't, what we found and what I found in other, other people battling chronic illness, immune disorders and things like that, I got very, very lucky. With being allowed to do education in finding out through a couple different medical, semi-medical venues. It's still the science of it is not really being released as far as, again, systemic health. Some of the most fascinating things right off the bat is that the endocannabinoid system, the system that cannabinoids work off of, both the ones that we make and ones we put in our bodies, is the largest receptor signaling system in mammalian bodies, but the human body. So these receptors are strategically placed in your central nervous system, in your skin. So just right there, central nervous system, and your skin, among all the other systems, functioning organs and things like that, especially your bladder, especially, it's literally everywhere, and it learns, the system learns. So whatever you're teaching it, and that doesn't really have to do with the substance. What I'm getting to is it's directly enmeshed with your autonomic system. So me sort of trying to focus on the internal systems that we're working with these plants and things, working with the spinal cord, working with skin on a daily basis, really start noticing some stuff. And especially over 4 years of time, not just trouble spots or bone protrusions or dehydration and things like that. With the knowledge that I had the honor of learning through a couple different scientific organizations out in the Bay Area, and these organizations that have been around doing the medical research. Putting it into application became a total passion. And turns out spinal cord injury is one of the most functional and applicable methods on a daily basis with a nice clean regimen. It doesn't have to cost you $1 million. No, it's not covered under insurance, but making this more efficient, making it more accessible, and working it into your daily instead of, for example, your digestive system's a little slow, especially after surgery or antibiotics or what have you. You're going to want to use a little different of the types, not just dosage. So again, I got really lucky in the scientific community and would have access to a clinical product called Nano CBD, which is it's transdermal. Goes through your skin in your bloodstream, or you can take it orally and it's in almost immediately. As a blank formula, basically, you can then take that clinical product that has X amount of milligrams and put it into your creams, your shea butter, your Silvadine, your.
So just so I understand this.
I'm sorry.
So just so I understand this, so I could actually take the cream and just eat it?
Yeah, sure. Rub it on your gums.
Really? Does it even have a taste to it? It sounds.
I don't recommend.
I don't recommend that one.
Doesn't sound
but
good.
Brushing your teeth with a CBD toothpaste does administer a pretty big dose with the with this type of nano that I've been very lucky to have the opportunity to learn with and apply to over the last year, again, in food, in certain ointments and creams, and keeping the skin, keeping other dominoes from falling together. We believe that because of certain nutrition and a certain lifestyle, that he hasn't even threatened a UTI in 18 months through surgery, through antibiotics, really, I feel that pre and post-op it is differently applied. We're building up your immune system. We're packing in bone broth while you're after surgery. You have bone broth. You put, your cannabinoids. There's another one called CBG, which is starting to gain some real momentum with gut health and rebalancing in conjunction with CBD. So these receptors are all over the place, and if we're pinpointing and using them to your, what your rate of healing is, what your diet is, I feel that it has to be as adaptive as you guys have to be every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a ton of information there. I want to know if the people are listening, or maybe even for myself. Is there a way that we can contact you or somebody or somehow?
Of course. By the time this airs, I will have a mode of communication for that. But hopefully some links on USAbled through Marc's site. And I do private consulting. That sounds expensive. It's not expensive. I do a lot of phone consults. I do I love to do the education. I love to be an advocate, not just for cannabis. If we're gonna standardize care and we're gonna normalize some of these techniques where we've really had amazing results, not just luck, with being able to hunker down and do this work together.
And Dawn, she's been asking me since I've been going to the men's group, hey, can I come give a presentation to the men's group? And that's back before COVID when we were doing it live.
It's a men's only group.
I saw a couple caregivers there. And everything there. So,
we don't count.
Once once we can meet in person again, we should all definitely, have you do a workshop or a conference or something like that. Where you
want to get you guys some health in a hand baskets, as I like to call them. My little company is called Healer Dealers LLC, and we try to help you stack your deck.
Well, you know what?
Put those aces in your pocket.
Provide us the links then after we get done. I'll make sure to get them in the video. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, do all that nifty stuff with our YouTube video, and comment. And if you want additional help or would like to seek these people out, we're going to have it available. And I would
I know I got scientific, but of course CBD is an anti-inflammatory. It's an antiemetic. It's an antioxidant. It does so many things, but it's not, I have to be very clear that it's not a magic bullet. And
it won't get you high.
And it won't get you high, but it will help you get healthy. And there is new research, and I would like to send you a link to the endocannabinoid system. When it's toned and healthy and running on all cylinders, as your central nervous system has to be, your liver has to be online, anything else like that. It's the 12th system of the human body, and it deserves some attention. And working with it and teaching it can really, and CBD is just one of the ways that you can participate in that. A lot of the time, the quickest, but what we found is the sustainability of one single, cannabinoid. There's always somewhere to go. It's an adaptogen. So if you're, for example, accepting an organ, it can help lower your immune system in order to accept it. And then when you're good enough, it can help you raise your immune system in order to get your ass out of the hospital. So, sort of seeing it from a different angle instead of this is going to cure your pain, or this is going to, that's really where our sort of specialty is long regulated balance. Please balance.
Hey, I know I don't want to forget to talk about US Abled. That's something that you started up. It's a website, correct?
Yes.
You want to give us the skinny on that, or what?
I'll give you a quick rundown on that. You see my shirt. This is my logo that is part of it. This is Humphrey. He's my alter ego. And is that
an AK-47 in his hand?
It is, actually. But it's not real. It's not a real gun, guys.
All right.
Just like we're not.
I feel threatened.
No, yeah. Well, it's hardcore, man. Actually, so yeah, US Able, my little tagline is own your ability, not disability. Wisdom, tips, and tools to help you battle through the bullshit and dominate your day. So it's a way of me, especially when COVID hit and we all got kind of stuck in our houses. I was like, I really love coaching and teaching and connecting with people. And there's still that little bit of side of me still alive that wants to coach and teach. And so this allows me to do it just in an online way. And after 32 years in the chair, I think I have a couple ideas that it's really written for my younger self. That's who my target audience is the kid that was 16 that thought people in wheelchairs only couldn't walk. And so, hey, there's a whole nother world, and it's not all bad, but it's also not all good. It's not all happy and rosy times, as you heard me. I've been through some shit lately. So, but overall, 32 years have been pretty good. And it's a lot. This US Abled, if you wrote it out, it also spells usable. So it's usabled.com, and hopefully it'll connect with some people.
Well, cool. I know. I'm excited to check it out. I'll be over there. I'll jump in. And if you ever need anything for people to talk on it, I'm sure we'd be more than happy to help you out with all that stuff. All right, round table, last call on questions for them too. Laronda.
Oh, I'm good. I thank you for actually sharing your story.
Don.
Cocoa butter, CBD.
Well, I was just curious. You said you used Marc as your guinea pig. Have you guys ever had any failures? Like, have you grown any horns or turned purple or spotted?
Yes.
Not yet.
Not him. I did.
Okay.
Not yet. I'm good. I'm safe, and I think she takes it easy on me. So.
Well, I'm excited to hear about the next chapter, and it sounds like you're doing great. And I mean, just congratulations on all your success, and thanks again for sharing your story, for being so open.
Eric.
Well, I'm not trying to open up a can of worms here, but I gotta ask.
But here it goes.
Oh, here we go.
What do you suggest, both of you, what do you suggest for relationships? Because that's a big issue in our community. You know, having relationships, dating, and you know, discovering all that, and what would you give for advice?
Well, that's a good question, and I did listen to one of your podcasts that you guys talked about that, and I think it was Shawn.
Only one?
Well, I've listened to a couple, but the one
I just
stood out to me to answer this question. I think, Shawn, you had a comment that you don't let your caregivers, or you don't date your caregivers, and you don't let your girls that you date take care of you. You know, and I think that's admirable, but not always practical. Don, I think you have a girlfriend that's a nurse, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
And so it's work, man. It's not easy. There's battles, there's stubbornness involved on definitely my part. I can speak for myself.
Me too.
And but it's also a mirror, and it allows me, I feel like some of the things that maybe annoy me about other people is actually the things that annoy me about myself. And so, you know, a lot of times it's just it gives me some self-reflection. I've been in relationships that I've learned from all of them, even if they were in it in a crash and burn. You know, you learn from those as well. Or you know, the people you meet online, as we were speaking earlier about, that's a whole nightmare in itself. You learn things there. So
I mean, I go back to the athlete thing, being a good coach, training your caregivers, not just in a do what I say kind of way, but he's a teacher. You got what 200 caregivers, over 100. Thousands of interviews for sure, and learning to manage that and create your space and create your environment and create the relationship right off the bat is hard. I mean,
who made the first move then? Who made the first move?
That's a good question. I think it just grew like a flower.
Oh. Out in Chandler, yeah.
No stocking, none of that going on.
It just was something that grew. Actually, JoAnna was married when she was originally my caregiver a couple of years ago. So that wasn't even in the.
Well, this last year has been with his dominoes. You know, when COVID came along, it was like 8 months after sort of the surgery, and it was time for my life to completely turn as well. 9/11 was a big shift change for me. It seems like our big changes sort of happen at the same time.
They match.
And a couple times.
So destiny kind of slammed you two together, is what it sounds like.
You know, to this point, yes. Now, who knows? She could poison me tomorrow. I have no idea.
Wow, yeah.
So good.
She just right.
Yeah.
You're on the record now.
Yeah, right.
I am recording this.
Guys, if they die tomorrow, here, right here.
So about the comment that I made on there, Mark, you know, that again, I think you're right. It's a personal choice for me. It's not something that I tell everybody to do. I just was explaining a personal choice for myself in the fact that I've had good caregivers that I've been in relationships with while they were caregiving, and it turned into really bad. And then now you're not only losing a person that you're with, you're also losing a caregiver. And so now you have to replace two different things. For me, it was a really muddy thing. And it's not that I wouldn't ever be open to the idea, right? I mean, because who, if anybody, knows your life better than the people who are caring for you and around you every day? So I understand it.
And I think also you had mentioned in a different podcast that there's like, things like you have the agency, right? And how hard it is to keep a good rotation of people, or sometimes you've had up to 4.
I've had 6.
Yeah. Managing all of that is managing relationships. Period. I mean, and training, and you already have such a necessary bond. I mean, at first, it's not like taking care of, a 95-year-old lady that needs her dog walked, and for a caregiver agency, you can. I personally believe that there should maybe in the future be a little bit more of a focused group of caregivers qualified for people with a certain level of injury, but it's your archetype and their archetype, and they do have to mesh. Sometimes you can see the best doctor in the world. It's just not your doctor. It's just not your cup of tea. So there has to be, I think, a certain level of qualifying vibes. And you generally know that on the first or second part of the interview.
I agree with that. I mean, I do. I think I know as soon as I start talking to them whether or not it's gonna be an option for me. But I know we are running short on time, and I always have to. I'm gonna ask everybody this question, so you can be as short or as long as you want. Bowel and bladder program. How's that work for you?
And I've done it. I've done it all. I've had. I started out with intermittent catheting when I was first injured. I've gone to condom catheter, and then I was doing an indwelling catheter. Now I have a suprapubic. So I pretty much ran the gamut on the urinary part as well as the bowel part. So started off digital stim. I've done suppositories. I've done enemas. It's taken me up to 2 hours at a time. And then just recently in September, I got an ostomy put in my stomach. They actually put an ostomy in a year ago when they were preparing me for the surgery, and because I was going to be on my back for 8 weeks, and that ostomy didn't work. It never took. And so I had to have it redone just recently. So now I'm learning the ostomy system. And so I've done, again, all that. I ran the whole gamut with that. And that's kind of another thing why I was with US Able. I feel I can speak on authority on pretty much all those subjects because I've been through them all. I mean, again, there was a time when my bowel care was 2 hours long.
Sure.
Now it's in the bag, and I'm learning that, and it's kind of awkward, but I got a good teammate here, and we're learning, and diet and probiotics and all that.
That's another thing, that at post-surgical, there's not many doctors that can legitimately tell you how much protein, what kind of fiber, what your program. You're really customizing your program, but they just don't have much for you personally. It's figuring it out, getting in there,
trial and error.
A whole new system of caregivers, diet.
Sorry to cut you off, but with actually, guys, and I don't want this to come across wrong, but with the COVID and the shutdown and the slowdown, at least, I really use this time to, I've actually benefited from it, and I'm learning my body without being my own self, being out, want to go out with friends and drink beer and then have a bag problem out in public or stuff like that. So I'm really using this time to learn my system, and hopefully it lifts up pretty soon. We start getting out and doing some fun things again, and then by then I should know at least my routine a little bit better.
Right on time.
Perfect, man. Well, hey, we appreciate you. If there's anything else as far as follow-up stuff that you ever want to come on here and talk about, let us know. We'll get you in here to be able to talk about it, especially once US Able gets going.
Yes,
You start getting some stuff on there, maybe some questions that people want answered and stuff of the sort. Come back, talk to us, let us know. We'll be happy to have that roundtable discussion.
Well, I really appreciate you guys having us on. I feel like this is something I've been dragging my feet on, and time was ready. I'm ready for it.
That's awesome. Well, everybody,
Yep, thank you.
been fun.
Okay.
I want a shirt. I want one of those shirts.
All right, buddy. I'll get you the link.
Yeah, we all want one. We all need the link.
Mhm.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks.
JoAnna Paterson and Marc Strohmaier. We appreciate your time. If anybody wants to contact them, Eric will put the links below this. Hit subscribe. Hit alerts. We love you. Podriplegics. I'm out.